Today we're going to take a look at Mizuno's Wave Rider 26. This 12 millimeter drop shoe, a more kind of traditional daily trainer, gets some pretty significant updates for its 26th edition. The Wave Rider 26 is $140. It weighs about 10 ounces, 284 grams in a US 9. It has a 38.5 millimeter heel, 26.5 millimeter forefoot, 12 millimeter drop edition. Part of our testing was in beautiful Park City on the Jeremy Ranch Road, and we'll share you some of what we saw there. So the most significant change is we get 2 millimeters more stack height of Enerzy Foam, which is about 15 to 17% more energetic and softer than Mizuno's older euphoric foam. We also get a redesigned wave plate that's further forward in the shoe and more streamlined. The outsole gets a broader kind of coverage with less segmentation up front for a snappier feel, and we sure felt that as well. The upper is a Jacquard mesh, quite thin, quite dense, and very pliable, very comfortable. We're going to get into the details and take them out here in beautiful Jeremy Ranch Road here in Park City. But first, a few pros and cons. We both like the Jacquard mesh upper, extremely comfortable, secure, and breathable. The wave plate and Enerzy Foam are stable, cushioned, and propulsive. And there's a high level of craftsmanship, and they are really very good value at $140, and there's quite a bit of sustainability in the platform. As far as the cons, well, we both agreed the drop at 12 millimeters, the big ramp, and what ends up being kind of a thinner, firmer feeling than the 26 millimeter front stack would point to. We'd like to see it maybe a lower drop shoe, move some of that cushioning to the front, and it's not an ideal slow run shoe as a result. And there were a bit of front of the toe box fit issues for Dominique. So before we take them out, let's get into a few details with our Wave Rider 26 here. This is the men's. This is the women's. You can see really the only difference is in the color here, the midsole, and we'll start with that. This pinker here, I think, is injection molded Enerzy Foam, whereas up above here we have compression molded foam. This pink is a little bit firmer, and Mizuno says they use it for increased durability. A key difference here as we look at compared to the Wave Rider 25 is we have 2 millimeters more stack front and back of Enerzy Foam. We also have, and this is really significant, a redesigned wave plate. It actually starts further forward and is less pronounced than in the 25. So what that's translated to on the run, and I'll show you the medial side, a little higher there, is that instead of being a somewhat noticed stability element, now there is a teeny touch of stability, but it's more a propulsive element forward. And Mizuno tells us and showed us a diagram that up in front here, it has a kind of a waffle design. And that's all designed, I think, to guide you forward and give you a bit of propulsion to this really nicely flexible front of the shoe. So we are at a 12 millimeter drop here, as the Wave Rider has always been. And I guess that's kind of one of my knocks. I'd like to see it be an 8 or 10 millimeter drop and move some of the foam here. We have 38.5 at the heel and 26.5 at the forefoot. So this is really a very highly stacked shoe. Move some of that heel cushion forward, because we feel it's a bit thin up front, a bit firm. Even though there's plenty of cushion, it really only gets activated when you're really pushing it hard. We're going to take them out on Jeremy Ranch Road here in Park City. It's a really famous running route. A lot of pros train there. It's a dirt road. You're going to get some of the scenery with the aspens changing. But let's keep going here, and we'll keep underfoot here. The outsole design has changed. We still have the deep and much appreciated decoupling or crash pad groove here, which was in the 25. I really liked it. With this big stack, you've got plenty of rear cushion, no question about it, and it's quite stable, quite forgiving at the rear. What they've done with the outsole, and here's a picture of the 25's outsole, is they have a more continuous coverage to make the shoe snappier. We'll see how that turned out on the run. You'll also notice these little triangles cut through. That leads to a little bit softer feel through here than over on the edges. So a little softer give there. That's kind of felt. Maybe that's part of the thinness part that we felt a bit. But overall, this is a really fine midsole. The Enerzy Foam is about 17% softer and has 15% more rebound than Mizuno's older euphoric foam. Now let's talk about the upper. They've gone with a really quite thin, quite dense engineered Jacquard mesh here. It's really, really well done. We both felt a bit short, a bit pointy in the toe box, maybe a quarter size. That might have to do with this quite stout but vertical toe bumper. I like a vertical toe bumper, one that doesn't come over the toes. You are extremely well held here through the midfoot. Despite this soft mesh, often shoes with this kind of soft Jacquard mesh fall down. The 880 V12 from New Balance is one that I think of, the Glycerin. They just don't have enough support. Well, what Mizuno did here is we do have, and you probably won't be able to see it, a gusset tongue, but we also have, and you can see right through the mesh, it's really quite thin. We also have some white paneling on the inside here. You can see it there, right there, which provides a laminate that provides a bit of extra support around the lace-up. Lace-up is super easy here. These are great laces and a great tongue. As we move to the rear of the shoe, massive, massive high heel counter. We both noticed when we put them on first that they sort of dug into the ankle. However, that only occurs while you're kind of standing still or driving the car. Once you're underway, it works really, really well, although it is quite high and, of course, very, very rigid. And that, again, is something that's needed with this kind of very soft upper. You're really locked in super well here, and that contributes to the rear stability of the shoe. In terms of shoes, you might compare it to the Pegasus from Nike, somewhat lower stack height in the front, and kind of lumpier feel with the air unit. Very similar with the flexibility, the classic daily trainer. Brooks's Ghost, softer, kind of sloppy in comparison. This is more a shoe, I think, for your faster kind of regular daily training. Not a great, I don't think it's a great long run shoe for me. But it's all those middle miles, and you certainly could do some speed work in it because you're so well locked down. You've got that snappy response. Saucony's Ride 15, which is lighter, considerably lighter, because I think in large part it has less outsole coverage, and here we're going to get a super durable shoe. So in terms of value, this is going to be really solid. The Ride has a softer foam, it's lighter. Very comparable in the sense that they're daily trainers, but the Saucony may lean a bit more towards longer, slower runs, although it can be done as a workout shoe. Also, the Tempest from Saucony, that's a shoe with some elements of stability, and the wave plate here does provide some stability, but it does it with a foam frame with a PIBA core, also lighter. And lower drop, I think it's 8 millimeters, about the same stack height if you add the front and the back. So that's another comparison. That one probably compares a bit more closely than the Ride does. It's a bit snappier. But here we have $140 shoes, so this is a really solid value. So Dominique and I took them out on Jeremy Ranch Road, beautiful Jeremy Ranch Road, and a couple other runs. So we're going to give you our from the run impressions. Okay, we're at the Morgan County line, and there's a little ranch. Oh, they're riding some horses. There's actually a house way up there. And we just came 3 miles, and we're going to head back. But first, let's talk a bit about the fit of our Wave Rider 26. True to size fit. Both Dominique and I feel especially when you're just standing, the toe box may be a little low and pointy. This mesh is very, very breathable, although you can see quite dense, but it's very thin and pliable. Those midfoot overlays I talked about earlier hold you really well. Of course, there's that big heel counter. Again, you feel it trying it on is a bit high, maybe rubbing, but all you have to do really is not lace them up too tight, because they fit just about right if you just keep them a bit more relaxed than, say, with another shoe. And we do have the gusset tongue. So it's really a secure, comfortable, really seamless feeling upper here. Now, as far as the ride, what do we say? You've got a very snappy forefoot, just what Mizuno says you'll have. The rubber provides a nice stable toe-off platform. There's definitely a little bit of bounce off the forefoot, but it is quite thin feeling, so it's kind of agile. Really a nice option for faster workouts. Remember, we got 38.5 at the heel, 26.5 at the forefoot, so we have a lot of stack height, but it's somewhat firm and responsive as opposed to bouncy and soft. Now, the new design wave plate starting a bit further forward than previously, I really like that. Mizuno also called out that it has some waffling on the very front of it for a bit of propulsion. Moving it forward kind of makes it more propulsive in feel, a bit less of that kind of really noticed stability that we had in the 25 and certainly the 24. It was toned down in the 25. So we're going to keep going to the barn. The Mizuno Wave Rider 26 is available now, $140. Thank you very much for watching. We have a written multi-tester review over on RoadTrailRun. Have a great run.